All right, so you have your constraints set up, you have your client set up. What we need to do now is run the efficient frontier. What you're going to do is in this target risk is not a constraint, it's actually not a target risk. All we're doing is we're going to build the efficient frontier point by point. I recommend you start at 5%. And here's where you're going to do data, and you need to have goal seek. This computer doesn't have goal seek. So we're going to do file, options, add-ins. Down here at the bottom, Excel add-ins, click go. Put the solver in there. It should happen a whole lot faster than this. So this is, wow. Yeah, it should be faster than anybody doing this on a Mac. Yeah, you're probably going to have some problems here in a second. I don't know why that's taking so long. So Bill Gates is slowing us down, but yeah, it should happen like in the nanoseconds. Oh. All right, so there's solver. If you're on PC, the solver should be all set up here. If you're not on a PC, if you're on a Mac, I've seen that the solver is not set up, and you'll have to set it up from scratch. So you're better off actually doing this on a PC up here. I wish we could be in there, but there's going to be a class in there pretty soon. So what does the solver say? You can set this up in your Mac pretty quickly. What we're trying to do is maximize the return, which is B28. We want to maximize B28 by changing these allocations, by changing B17 through B25, subject to some constraints. So what are the constraints? The first constraint is we want B22, B22 is emerging markets, to be less than or equal to F22, which is the constraint on emerging markets. All right, you see that one? The second one is we want B23, which is gold, to be less than F21, which is the constraint on gold. The next one is we want B25, which is high yield, to be less than F20, less than or equal to F20, which is the high yield. We want B27, which is the sum of all our allocations. We want that to equal 1. We want B29, the risk, to equal our target risk, which is E17. And then one we just added, we want G23, which is emerging markets plus developed market stocks, to be less than equal to F23, which is our constraint. Whatever constraints you have, you just need to make sure you have those set up. Some of those constraints you all have. The S allocation has to add up to 100%, and the actual risk needs to hit your target risk, but all the other constraints you set up. Once you do that, so how does it look for your Mac users?
I did it yesterday in the Windows, so but I haven't run this over in the Mac yet.
So yeah, it's not as, it takes a lot longer for some reason. So I don't know how it's going to do this machine's really slow. So then you just click solve, and you want the word found. All right, has anyone tried solving yet? Did you get it found? If you get the word cannot find a solution, I'd suggest you give it a new starting point. If it says converge, just run it again. But if it says found, you have what you have. So if you get one where it says I can't find a solution, you might change these allocations. You might do like 30% large cap value and 70% bonds, something that gets you close to 5% just to give them a new starting point. But that one worked pretty well. So if you got that one to work, you just go model output, Control Shift right to select all of that, Control C to copy, come down and right click and paste it in, and now you got your first point in the efficient frontier. That's the highest return you can get at a 5% risk level, which is 5.06. You can see it's mostly bonds, right? 67% bonds, but there's some in high yield, there's some in international stocks, there's some in US stocks. All right? Then you go back and you start running higher points. I'd recommend you try it in half increments for a while, 1.5%. Just solve, and it should go pretty fast at this point. They found the solution. Go to the output, copy, right click, and hit the 1, 2, 3. So this is a model that's perfect for a macro. From Visual Basic, but I don't like to do macros with class projects because they always blow up, especially when you're going between Macs and PCs and all that. But if you want to write your own a macro, you just have to figure out how to tell the macro to talk to solver, which is not the easiest thing to know. All right, then I'll do 6%. Any of y'all getting this working?
Yes.
All right, so you can see it moves pretty fast. This is the part that should take you only about 10 minutes to get through all of these. So I'm just going to move on ahead. I'll do 6.5. Again, if you get converged, just say OK and run solver again, and it probably will find it the second time. Once I get to 7%, I'll start going by 1% increments. So after 7%, I'm now going to try 8%. You'll be able to tell when you run your Fish Frontier, when you see the graph, if you look at the graph itself, the next page of the graph, you can see how it's building the efficient frontier point by point. It's going to be doing that all the way up. So if you have a point that's not correct, it will look wrong. You'll have like a dip in your efficient frontier. You'll have to rerun that point. So it'll be pretty obvious if you messed up somewhere. All right, so now I'm going to jump to 8%. Having trouble with 8%. Copy that down. Just don't copy anything into the green yet. Whatever's in this green section is going to be your recommended. All right, so you want to wait to the very end on that. I'm going to do 9%. You see there I got converged, so I'm going to run it again. Give Bill Gates a second try, and you got it the second time. Copy that down. I'm going to try 10%. I'm going to put that below the green. Go to 11%. Oh, I didn't even see what it said. All right, so we found it. Now, how far should you go? I'd recommend go out to about 17. It really depends on your constraints. You'll notice with the assumptions that emerging is a 22% risk and gold is a 35. But you can't get out to 22 or 35 if you have constraints on those asset classes. Because once you stop them at 10% or whatever, they can't go out that far. So 17 is probably a good answer. Large cap growth is 15. Small caps, 19, 17, so you can probably get out to 17 without any trouble. All right, now let's try 12%. Converge, for some reason, it should move pretty rapidly after. I'm going to jump to 13.5. I'm going to look at my graph after I do 13.5 and make sure the graph looks okay. Sometimes when you jump a point, it gets kind of a triangle to it. You don't want that. You want to have a curve to it. So if you go too far, it'll like do a V shape, and you don't want that. All right, so then I'm going to jump to 15. And I'll do 16 and 17, and that'll be it. All right, so one more point. Got a really good looking fish frontier. You see it's a little bit not curved enough out here, but it's okay. It's good enough for us. So all we're missing is our recommended portfolios. So what we're going to do, you have to decide what we're going to recommend to this client. So there's several things you could do. You could just pick one of the points you've already done, like this 10%. See, I'm going to recommend they do 10%. The nice thing about 10% is lower risk than what they have, and it's higher return. So that's kind of nice, right? I'm going to reduce your risk and increase your return. Or you could find a point, the best portfolio at the current risk. So the current risk is 1061. You could copy that 1061 and make it your target risk and run the solver there. And that could be your recommended. If you look at the efficient frontier, you can see there's your recommended point. You just got to move this over, and Bill Gates makes this really tough, but you got to somehow grab it. Here's my current portfolio. Here's my recommended. So that can work. One thing I'll say though is if you decide you want to use this 10% and you copy it up, you can't have the same point twice because your recommended disappears because it's hidden behind that point. All right? So if you do that, get rid of everything except for that one, and then your recommended portfolio will come back. Everybody understand that? So you can't have the same point there exactly twice. It's got to be a different dot because the light blue overcomes the dark blue. Right. I liked it. I actually liked it better before. I like this point. So that makes a lot of sense. We're not going to do anything with your risk. We're just going to get you a higher return. So that works. All right. So y'all see how that works. Now what do? You've got this graph to put into your paper. Make sure you move your titles around. Again, it's really, really tough. You got to click on the title and you just got to. What I usually do is accidentally move the entire graph, and then you got to just Control Z out of that. So it's just tough time moving titles around. But make sure you do that. The other thing you have are these graphs over on the right, and see how busy they are. What I recommend you do on these graphs, and I've got the note over here, is just right-click. Select data, and I forget what we did here. We had 70% in growth. See, we had 70% in growth, 30% in bonds. So I'm going to get rid of everything except for large cap growth and bonds. And that will just give me a much better looking chart. All right. Same thing on my recommended. My recommended doesn't have any high yield. Doesn't have any gold. I don't know what else I might have missed. No large cap value. I don't know why this model dislikes value so much. It's kind of interesting. It likes small cap value, but doesn't like large cap values. It's really bizarre. So there's my recommended portfolio. So you see how you can get rid of those zeros. You have to know what the zeros are, so you may write them down before you do that, but it makes it much better looking. So these are two charts you'll put into your paper. You'll put this one with your client, explaining who your client is. You might put both of these later in the paper when you're explaining your recommendation, where you're moving them, and then you'll have your efficient frontier in there. And that's the first part of the paper. It's actually the easiest part of the paper. The only hard thing is coming up with your constraints. You got to have some rationale for that. All right, any questions on this part? That makes sense? I'll stop the video so we can start the next section.